What is happening in the Calgary real estate market? The Calgary Real Estate Board just released their numbers for May of 2023, so we're going to take a look through them and see exactly what that means for you. Hey, it's Nathaniel Terryberry with the Terryberry Real Estate Group, and today we're going to be taking a look through the May 2023 numbers from the Calgary Real Estate Board to see exactly what that means for you and kind of what's happening within the Calgary real estate market. So let's jump into my computer and take a look. First thing I want to talk about is where we are at, whether you've been following the Calgary real estate market pretty closely or maybe you have absolutely no idea what's going on. So I just want to explain the three types of markets there are and exactly where we are within those markets. Now, the first one is a buyer's market. This means high inventory levels and low buyer demand. Usually what we see is homes selling for long days on market and usually under list price. Moving along onto the balanced market, this is the one that we're always aiming for. So this is where houses sell in a fair days on market, usually at or maybe slightly below list price. So it's pretty fair. There's a similar amount of buyer demand as there is inventory, so it's not shifted one way or the other. Moving on towards a seller's market, this is where there is going to be extremely low inventory and high buyer demand, so homes will sell quicker and likely above list price. Now, this is exactly where we are in Calgary, not quite all the way in a full seller's market, like absolutely crazy, but it is very, very close here because we have such crazy buyer demand right now and such low inventory. For example, I had an open house just a few days ago and had about 100 people through in 2 hours, which is nuts. We got 10 offers on that place and it sold for 30 grand over list. There was another house in the same neighborhood and it had 53 offers on it that weekend. So just goes to show there is a ton of buyer demand out there. If you just look at the property we sold, there's 9 other people that wanted that place and now are still looking. So it's quite crazy. There's not a lot of inventory in Calgary, but we'll get to that in the next slide. Now, the next thing I want to look at is inventory versus sales. This is basically what has been driving all the news headlines here in Calgary. Inventory, sales, it's basic supply and demand. So as we look at this chart, you can see there were bigger gaps at the beginning of the year, January, February, and March, and now it's starting to tighten up. So as you can see, May is the closest with sales to inventory levels. Inventory very, very low in May, 3207, which is a 39% decrease from last year. So way down compared to where we were last year, which was already a low inventory. So now we are significantly down. Now, interestingly enough, this is the first month that we've had sales actually reach over what they were last year. So all the other months we've kind of been below last year. That was expected because interest rates are a lot higher. There's less buyer demand, but this is actually the first month we increased versus last year. So it's a brand new May sales record and you can see very, very close to the inventory levels. It's actually a 2% increase over last year. Now, to fully understand how low our inventory levels are, whether you've been hearing it in the news or not, this page is a great comparison for 2023 versus 2022. So even in 2022, we were still low inventory compared to where we have been in previous years. But now taking a look at 2023, it is a massive difference. Like I said, 39% decrease from last year, but we actually beat the sales from May of last year. So like I was saying, we were totally expecting sales to be down this year, not a big surprise there. And when we look at it for year to date, we're down about 30% compared to last year. Inventory is also down near 30% and our months of supply and benchmark price up by about 2. So basically what we're seeing is there are less sales because there's less demand with the interest rate being higher. Maybe people have bought, whatever it may be. And then you also have the inventory level being down, which doesn't help either. So we can't sell as much if you don't have as much to sell. Now, what I thought was pretty interesting is we take a look at May of 2022 and we compare it to May of 2023. So you can see May 2022, total sales 3,071 versus in May 2023, 3,207. So a difference of about 136 homes. But what I did find the most interesting about this was homes that sold at or above list price in May 2022 was 44%, but now we're at 51%. So it's a pretty big difference. And it's very interesting that we have managed to beat the sales even with considerably less inventory. Next, I want to take a look at the May 2023 sales categories. So what actually made up all of these sales. Now, detached is down about 8% compared to last year. Doesn't really surprise me. There's less detached listings on the market this year, and they are also more expensive than they were last year. Apartment, though, this is the big one that we really didn't see coming back as strong as it has. Apartment sales up 36%, so over a third higher than they were last year, which is pretty crazy. It makes sense, though, with property values going up. People need a place to live still. It's a very affordable option. There's condos just sold one the other day for about 175,000 and I sold another one the week before for about 660,000. So there's a bunch of different price ranges for those condos and there's a lot of inventory on the market as well. So it does make sense why people are looking at apartments. Then townhomes. Townhomes are also down 10%. Again, inventory levels on the townhomes are down compared to where they were last year, which makes sense. If you don't have them, you can't sell them. And it's also just a little bit more of an expensive property type compared to the apartments. So this is what we're seeing. Interesting that the apartments have driven up all those sales, because without them, if we even sold equal to what we sold last year with apartments, then we would have been considerably down on the sales numbers. So very good to see that apartments are picking up in popularity. There's a lot of people buying them, which is great because we did have a lot on the market at the beginning of the year. And now let's talk about prices, because that is what everybody always wants to know. What's going on with prices? What's going on in the market? So May 2023 prices for detached, they're up about 4.17% compared to where they were last year. And this is also because it's simple supply and demand. If we do not have as much supply and there's a huge demand, prices are going to increase. It's just how it works. So apartments actually have taken the biggest price increase of any property type all year, which is not something that we would normally ever expect, just because they usually do not go up in value that much year to year, but up 10% year over year so far. So pretty crazy to think that you could have bought something last year and made around 10% on it as an apartment, which is really, really good. And townhomes up 8.68% as well. Property types, all the property types have seen increased value, and that's just because we still have high demand and very low supply, so it just drives it up. Now, this is looking at residential prices across all property types, so townhomes, apartments, detached. So you can see that we've had a bit more of a gap, 2023 to 2022, but now it's slightened. It's kind of gotten a little bit closer to where it was last year. We're kind of compressing that gap. So this year, benchmark price for May 2023, $539,180, and last year it was about 10 grand less. So 2% increase, not very crazy, but it is still increasing year over year. I kind of see it going to be balancing out now, unless we get a ton and tons and thousands of homes that hit the market, or we get thousands and thousands of buyers that come into market. It could go either way. But as of right now, kind of seems like it's going to stay the course and stay steady for the next few months. Now, what does this mean for you though? So if you are a buyer, this is going to be definitely a challenging time. You need to make sure that you have all your stuff ready to go. You're probably going to have to write on quite a few properties. I think I've probably written more offers this year than I have in my entire career, because you just have to go out, get and see it. And then there's people beating you out with unconditional offers, or they're going $40,000, $50,000 over list, which is hard to compete with in some cases. But as a buyer, be patient, stick with it, because it's going to take some time. You're just going to have to go out there and see properties as often as you can. And if you're a seller, this is a great time to sell, because you're going to have a bunch of people that want to come see your place. There's a ton of buyer demand out there, no matter the property value. I've seen stuff that was listed at $1 million sell for $100,000, $200,000 more, and stuff listed at $200,000 selling for $25,000, $50,000 more. So it's all over the map. It doesn't really matter on what property type or what price point you're at. I mean, it does vary and change, but for the most part, you definitely are going to be seeing a lot of demand on a property that you want to sell. So I won't go through all the numbers for every single property type. Otherwise, this could be a 3-hour video if you want to comb through that. I will leave a link to the full Calgary market report down below. You can download that, or feel free, leave a comment or message me, and I would be happy to answer your specific questions, whether it be a property type or sales or inventory or whatever you want to know. And down below, we have a book a call with us button. So if you're interested, make sure you set something up. We're happy to answer your questions, whether you're looking at buying, selling, investing, or maybe you just have some questions about Calgary. So feel free to click on that. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you stay subscribed so you're up to date with everything happening in the Calgary real estate market. Until next time, I'm Nathaniel Terryberry. See you then.